Hello. Welcome to Consolidated Fund of Malaysian Public Sector Accounting. Fund accounting is a system of financial record-keeping primarily used by an organization to manage its finances. This system records the source of funds and how these funds are being spent, rather how these funds are earned. It is used by non-profit government organizations and local authorities because they require a reliable financial accounting system to track funds generated from various revenue and expenses. The objective of fund accounting is to determine the financial condition and its changes in the organization for decision-making and improvement. Second objective is to know the results of the organization's operations to measure efficiency and effectiveness. Third objective is to check its compliance with legal restrictions to ensure annual financial reports in the light of established principles. The three characteristics of fund accounting are: each fund is an independent accounting entity. Each fund has its own set of accounts with complete double entry and financial statements, and each fund must be self-balancing and autonomous. Autonomous indicates decisions, objectives, and goal of general government activities and spending activities can be identified. The establishment of Consolidated Fund is governed by the Federal Constitution and the Financial Procedure Act 1957. Consolidated Fund is governed by the following regulatory framework. Consolidated Fund is all the government revenues and monies received have to be accounted for into a fund. This is the general view of fund transfer between revenue accounts, trust accounts, and loan accounts. Based on the Consolidated Revenue Account Section 7A of the Financial Procedure Act 1957. All types of money are revenue received except for loans and trusts to be accounted in revenue account. Monies received used to maintain operating expenditures, which includes charged expenditure Art. 98 of the Federal Constitution and supply expenditure Art. 100 of the Federal Constitution. Federal government's operating expenditure comprises of all charges to the budgeted allocation that pertain to emoluments, supplies and services, assets, grants and fixed charges, and other expenditure. The expenditure includes the transfers to Development Fund and Housing Loan Fund and allocations to state government. Government allocated some small portion revenue into a development expenditure on the infrastructure development and improving public transport. They contribute to productive capacity and efficiency in the economy. The second type of Consolidated Fund account is Consolidated Trust account. It is to account for all receipts and payments of trust funds and monies received by the government for specific purposes. All receipts and payment of trust monies should be accounted for and maintained in accordance with all related acts of trust. Consolidated Trust account comprises of government trust funds, public trust funds, and deposits. Government trust funds consists of three types of funds, which are Development Fund, Housing Loans Fund, and Miscellaneous Government Trust Fund. Development Fund is set up in accordance with Development Funds Act 1966, which aims for economic development of the nation. The receipts is contributed from Consolidated Revenue Account, repayment of loans from this fund, and transfer from Consolidated Loan Account. The Government Housing Loan Scheme is financed by the Housing Loans Fund with the provisions of the Housing Loans Fund Act 1971. It aims to provide housing loan facilities to members of the Federal Administration, Parliament, State Administration and Legislative Assembly, judges of Federal High Court, civil servants and armed forces. The receipts of Housing Loan Fund comprises of appropriations from both Consolidated Revenue Account and Development Fund. Housing loan repayment and interest earned and loans raised through transfer from loan account. The maximum loan amount is up to 450,000. Miscellaneous Trust Fund is established under Financial Procedure Act 1957 for specific purpose. Part of these funds is revolving in nature, while others provide for outright payments. The financial sources of these funds come from appropriations from the government. The five main categories: the trust funds are the clearance account, contingency fund, trading account, miscellaneous fund, and loan account. In public trust funds, all receipts and payments for specific purposes in accordance with specific acts of Financial Procedure Act 1957. The receipts from organizations or individuals for specific purposes, which consists of special trust and general trust. The examples of public trust funds are Private Finance Initiative Trust Account and Special Development Activity Private Finance Trust Account, which used for development expenditure. Generally, deposits consist of general deposits and adjustment deposits. General deposit money is received for specific purposes under any laws and is refundable, such as unclaimed monies. Adjustment deposits are temporary accounts used before adjustments made to be specific accounts, such as unallocated receipts. Third type of account of the Consolidated Fund is Consolidated Loan Account. It is established by federal or state government to keep all monies received by way of loan. Its establishment is based on Article 111 of the Federal Constitution and Section 7(b) of the Financial Procedure Act 1957. The main sources of borrowings that government undertakes from both internal and external sources. Domestic borrowings are loans obtained from local banks and financial institutions, while external borrowings include loans made from foreign banks and other financial institutions. All monies received from borrowings are used for repayment of outstanding loans and transferred to other funds, such as Development Fund, Housing Loan Fund, or other funds authorized by the Parliament. There are four main types of domestic loans instruments raised: are the Malaysia Government Securities, Treasury Bills, Government Investment Issues, and Sukuk. MGS represents the main source of domestic borrowing and in the form of bonds issued on long-term basis, with the maturity period is between 5 and 20 years to finance federal government expenditure. They are made available to the market by tender and are managed by Bank Negara Malaysia. Treasury bill comprises of short-term loan with the maturity period between 91 and 365 days, issued by the government periodically to finance the redemption cost of matured bills. GIIs complement measures in controlling excess liquidity in the financial system. They are medium-term loan instruments with a maturity period between 1 and 8 years. Financial institutions offer interest-free banking services in fulfilling the liquidity and investment requirement. Sukuk commonly refers to the Islamic equivalent of bonds and comply with Islamic law and its investment principles, which prohibit the charging or payment of interest. External borrowings consist of market loans, project loans, and Wakalah Global Sukuk. Markets loans are loans obtained from international financial institutions which negotiate at common market rates raised for general purposes. The duration of borrowing time is between 14 and 20 years. There are three types of market loans, namely syndicated loan, bond issues, and floating rate notes. Syndicated loan is a loan from a group of registered foreign banks with 10 years maturity period. Bond issues have maturity period between 5 and 15 years. The issue price is determined by market conditions of demand and supply. Floating rate notes are external loans where the interest payable is based on floating rate with maturity period between 10 and 30 years. Project loans are borrowings by way of money, services, and technical studies for specific development projects. The loans are obtained from multilateral sources such as the World Bank and bilateral government source. Wakalah Global Sukuk is external borrowings for Malaysian government to continue support its prudent debt management practice. It is Malaysia's third USD-denominated sovereign Sukuk issuance and the first 10-year global sovereign USD Sukuk for 2011.